Hello and welcome. Thank you very much for joining us today on this special segment. Budget 2026 is just around the corner. Over the next few days, we will be speaking with experts to get a sense of what should really the finance minister be doing this year, because the focus of this year's budget is going to be to ensure we achieve the goal of becoming Viksit Bharat by 2047. And joining us today is a very special guest. We have with us former Finance Secretary of the country, Mr. Subhash Chandra Garg. Sir, thank you very much for speaking with us here on Times Now. Firstly, I want to understand from you, what are your expectations? How do you really see this budget? It's going to be ninth consecutive budget of Finance Minister Nirmala Sitharaman. What are your expectations broadly?
See, the budgets are always framed in the context of the economic functioning, the people's needs, and the major strategic and policy shift which the government want to make for the economy to take direction, like what you mentioned, Viksit Bharat 2047. So that is the context. This budget would also be, to my mind, framed keeping these into considerations. And therefore, first thing which we need to keep in mind is what is the state of the economy? The economy today, while it is having a good headline, a very good headline growth of about 8%, there are many factors associated with it which are not moving into the desirable directions. For example, our export growth is into some problem. The foreign investments are down. Domestic investment is also somewhat poor, so to say, especially the government investments, having run the capital expenditure cycle for last couple of years. So the government, to my mind, the first thing which it need to address is how do you put the investment cycle back on track? The second thing which the government has been trying actually to do is that there is consumption pressure in the economy. The government is trying to do by sort of reducing income taxes, also the GST recently. So how these measures have worked, but only to a limited extent. What to do to boost up consumption in the economy further, that would be the other big challenge. And finally, to my mind, since we still run a large fiscal deficit, which is also impacting the state's finances as well, because of many programs which you run recently, you saw the government reducing the share of expenditure it bears for the rural employment guarantee schemes and things like that. So how do you, in times to come or for the next year, take care of the fiscal deficit situation? Do you reduce it? Or do you take it, you do increase to finance the expenditure for investments? I think these are the major challenges which the finance minister would need to address.
Interesting. Very comprehensively, you've put out for our viewers the current circumstances, or rather the challenges that the country is facing right now. And amidst these challenges, of course, we are going to see a budget that's going to be very interesting. So let's try and touch upon these challenges one by one. Let's begin with your aspect on export growth. Of course, it is weak. Now, trade deficit is widening. There are concerns on deep reliance on China. Plus, we were hoping to see some kind of movement as far as a trade deal between India and America is concerned. That still hasn't happened. So given these circumstances, given these external pressures, what is it that you want the finance minister to do to help our exports specifically?
So, see, the big choice, a policy choice before the government is to make, let us say, in the context of what the new economy goods are, the renewable energy, electric vehicles, the computers, the semiconductors. These are the future AI-related investments into. So these are the things. We import quite a lot of renewable products, solar, wind. We also import a lot of computer IT-related products, because our service economy is also based on that. And the way the thing is stacked up right now is that most of these imports are done from China. And China holds the technology and major minerals, rare earth minerals, and other things, machines making in these spaces. So a very difficult choice is that should you keep importing from China, or should you allow investment from China to make in India, which in my judgment gives a better control to India. If Chinese investment produce solar modules and the cells here in India, that gives a better employment opportunity for us. We also share in the profits of that. And in the eventuality of some difficult situations emerging, we get better control. So in my judgment, investment of Chinese companies in India is a better option than importing so many things from China. And but the government has taken so far a stand that they won't allow the investment from the China. So one of the way to address this export question is how should you not permit the investment from China to take place instead of relying on imports. The other thing is, which you referred, let us say the big elephant in the room is how do you deal with United States?
Yes.
United States has today imposed the largest or highest tariffs on India. 50%, so to say, despite India now reducing the oil purchases from Russia as well. And this is having a very wide-ranging effect. What is required to be done for addressing the American question? There have been many times voices being made that yes, the deal is around the corner or something. But in my judgment, one of the most sticking issue, which is not allowing this deal to happen, is how do we deal with the agricultural products, the dairies, the corn, the soybean, etc. I think a tough choice can be made by India in permitting import of these ones. We need a lot of ethanol, so why can't we make the ethanol from the corn imported from America? The dairy is not a big problem. We should allow that. So instead of sticking to or remaining sort of stuck on so-called agriculture not being sort of opened up because to protect the farmers' interest or something. So I think if we offer such a deal to America, probably we can get much better things in return. The third aspect would be how do we deal with the rest of the world? Can we expand? We need to do a lot of bilateral treaties and others. That's the current age is of the bilateral and regional treaties, not of the global one. So there are many options available, although difficult. Can the government take a call on that in the budget?
I think two very interesting suggestions you have given. One, clearly for China and one for the United States of America. Will the government be ready to take these kind of decisions? Of course, we'll have to wait and watch because, there is an impact of, the actions by both that we are facing right now in our economy. Let's now address the other issue that you raised, which was about foreign investment, how that has been coming down. I want to understand from you, if our macros are looking good, they're looking strong, then why are foreign investors pulling their money out of India? Can something really be done in the budget to perhaps address it?
So, I think this is a little bit of a exaggeration that our macros are very good. If we live in this world, we will not address the elephant in the room, the problem which we are facing. Assume for a minute that we have difficulty in our macros, in our economic management. The real growth is somewhat less than what it is. And that requires a question to be addressed is that why are foreign investors not investing in India? Or why are foreign investors pulling the money out of Indian stock markets? And if we go into the regions, then we'll find, let us say for the foreign direct investment. So in today's world, the direct investment is not in the traditional investment things like steel or aluminum or the cement or those kind of things or power, or the traditional coal power or something. That is not where the investment is coming. The investment would come into the new industrial goods like semiconductors, the computers, the renewables, and things like that. And that is where who can bring this investment? Americans can bring this investment into semiconductors and some of the AI-related kind of thing, robotics, etc. Chinese can bring investments into renewables, solar, computers, and others, and therefore electric vehicles. So if we address these, if we open up these sectors for investments and these institutions to make investments, then the investment will come, not by simply saying that we are generating 8% growth and therefore you should come. Look at the financial stock market returns. We keep on sort of citing that our stock markets are the record high yesterday or something. We were also saying the same. But we don't see that relatively Indian markets have actually done relatively quite poorly in comparison to everyone else. And similarly, on the foreign exchange front, if the foreign investors come here and the foreign currency depreciates like what it is happening in the case of India, they will not invest in debt or in equity or something. Last year was a very peculiar 2025 when American dollar actually depreciated by about 8-9%. And all the currencies of the world actually gained vis-a-vis American dollar. But Indian currency sort of depreciated by 5-6%. So these are because there is a large imbalance in our foreign currency imports, exports, plus transfers and other things, and capital transfer getting reduced actually mean more of the foreign exchange depreciation. So if we address these issues, then we'll get the foreign investment, not by simply saying that we are growing 8%.
Okay. I think those are, again, very interesting suggestions that you've made. I want to now move across to another important aspect, and that is about middle class. You know, last year, middle class got a lot of good news. Substantial relief had come because individuals earning up to 12.75 lakh annually got some relief. Can one expect more relief this year from the finance minister? Do you think there is still some scope? Do you think perhaps she might also completely abolish the old tax regime, given that a lot of people have already migrated to the new tax regime?
See, this is a very serious issue. I think we must, as a nation, address this very carefully. The middle class is being sort of wide for the government is trying to attract the attention to please the middle class, and that reduction, that raising of income tax limit virtually to 1 lakh rupees per month. And then more recently, reducing GST on most of the middle class consumption goods, whether it's cars or equipments or otherwise, was intended to sort of please the middle class and raise consumption in the economy. Unfortunately, while the tax effect of that is very clearly getting factored in, if you look at the data for first 8 months of the current year, both the direct taxes, the income tax, and the corporate tax and the indirect taxes, CGS, the GST and customs duty and all are down. In fact, the growth is almost not there, and the government is going to incur a sort of loss of not less than 2 to 3 lakh crores this year because of these tax giveaways. But at the same time, the consumption is not growing up, not going up much. So should you try to use this kind of blunt means, which are excessively costly, but their effect or advantages in terms of the boosting of consumption and investment is suspect. Now, a result of this, let us say, income tax relief is that in India, while about 11 crore people file tax returns, actual tax payment is not paid by more than 3 crore people. Unfortunately, the data release has not been forthcoming, and we don't have the data after 22-23 financial year. It should have come, it has not come, but my suspicion is that with these tax giveaways, the actual taxpayers number is down to less than 2 crore.
Okay.
That is for a country of the size of 144 crore people, if only 2 crore people pay tax is not really a good thing to look at. Similarly, the GST, I think this urge or to sort of keep reducing the rates is going to hurt us very badly. So I don't think the finance minister should at all venture into giving further reduction in any of these taxes, whether it's
Well, a lot of viewers are not going to like what you're saying because, every year middle class has a lot of expectations, but you're saying that it won't be really prudent for the economy. But you understand how finance...
middle class, unfortunately, is highly pampered in this country.
So, a lot of people are not going to agree to that. Trust me, you talk to people around you, they'll say, no, we are most neglected sort of, people or...
They are vocal, that's why they express. But if you look at in comparison to our poor class, what is happening to them, their incomes, their wages, in comparison to what the middle class... do you think in our country, should there be only 2 crore people who pay income tax?
No, I completely agree. Of course, we need to expand that, segment definitely. But sir, you understand how the finance minister, Ms. Nirmala Sitharaman, really functions. So, what is that one thing that you would like to advise her to do in this budget if we want to become Viksit Bharat by 2047, something that is non-negotiable in your opinion? And then second thing I would like to ask you is, what is your wish list? Say 2-3 things that you would like her to do.
See, the difficulty for the finance minister is usually that there is a political objective of the budget and there is an economic objective of the budget. Unfortunately, if you go too much by the political objective and neglect the economic objective of the budget, you end up taking many measures which while you talk very well about Viksit Bharat and making people people's welfare is to be addressed, but in effect it doesn't work that way. And both the economy, to my mind, if I can advise the government, I think we should define our goal of Viksit Bharat very clearly, and in terms of the people's welfare. The easiest definition in a way is to raise the people's income or the per capita GDP of the country high rather than overall GDP and reduce the inequality into the distribution. If you have a higher GDP but very few people share it or people get it, then that's not a great growth for the country. The GDP growth should be accompanied by a well-designed distribution where all the people share it. So define the Viksit Bharat goal more clearly in terms of, let us say, the lower 50% of the country's population, how much their welfare, how much their incomes grow. Can we define it in terms of that and then work around the strategies to do it? It's a difficult thing to do. Rather than seeking sort of satisfaction in, like the World Bank report recently came up a few months back, where what used to be the dollar a day kind of, which now is about $3 a day, for that, which is applicable only to very low income economy, and there are only 26 low income economy in the world. India is not a low economy. That criterion is not applicable to us. From that standard, if we reduce the poverty, it doesn't really help the Indians. So let us define our Viksit Bharat let us address the big elephant, as I said earlier, permit investments from China rather than relying on imports. Do a deal with the United States. Do a federal deal with the states. Don't push the states too much by sort of by pushing or transferring the expenditure burden on them. This will kill. So I think there are lots of very important things to do, but whether Mrs. Nirmala Sitharaman will do it is a big question.
Well, absolutely. But you've given some very interesting suggestions for sure. We'll eventually see what happens when the budget announcements are made. Mr. Garg, thank you very much for joining us here on this special broadcast. Always a pleasure to have you on the show.
Thank you, Hina. All the best to you.
Thank you.